Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption are both very good games, and I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. You probably know by now. One came out in 2008, the other in 2010. I've been playing both ever since, and I still have my original copies of these games. But I'm sure many out there would actually like to see remasters of them on modern platforms. But that might not happen anytime soon. Or at all. You might have seen this last week, but I wanted to talk about this now. Here's the deal. Tez2 on Twitter, who by the way is legit with his info, said that remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead 1 were both considered at Rockstar a few years ago. However, since then, Rockstar have chosen to not proceed with those projects. By the way, they've also apparently chosen to not go ahead with an enhanced version of Red Dead 2. So if you were hoping for that, then, well, sorry. You might be thinking, wait, why? Does the poor optimization of GTA 4 and spaghetti code of Red Dead Redemption make both too difficult to remaster? Are they too busy with other projects like GTA 6 or another port of GTA 5? Or are shark cards selling so well that they don't need to worry about making money through actual game releases anymore? Did all that office equipment stolen from Rockstar Toronto last year include a dev kit with the only working build of GTA 6 and they were forced to start from scratch? Or maybe they decided to resurrect their idea for that Austin Powers kart racing game? Well, just think. What came out between a few years ago and today that might have caused them to change their mind on this? I'll just go ahead and spell it out for you right now. Tez himself even said that the poor reception of the Trilogy Definitive Edition might be a reason behind their decision. This kind of matches up with what was stated last year, back when rumors were swirling about potential new editions of the GTA trilogy. You know, back when we were all a little bit more optimistic about them. Back then, somebody leaked the fact that remasters of the trilogy were a thing to Kotaku, and they nailed quite a few things that would have otherwise been impossible to know if you weren't at Rockstar. They also had some other interesting things to say, like how Rockstar were going to give away the Definitive Edition for free if you bought GTA 5 on the PS5, but then they decided to sell the game at full price anyway. And they shared a bit of insight on the future of remasters at Rockstar. They stated that the future of remasters of other classic titles, such as Red Dead Redemption, depended on how well the trilogy performed. Oops. To be fair, financially the trilogy didn't actually do too badly, but that's because it's Grand Theft Auto. It's bound to sell a ton of copies at launch. And look, a lot of games that are released these days tend to have issues with them on launch, but the trilogy had some rather glaring issues. And don't forget about the stuff left in the files that shouldn't have been, which risked potential legal issues for Rockstar. And then there was the fanbase reaction. Sure, the games might have sold well, but would people be willing to trust another remaster out of Rockstar? I didn't think I'd see major publications even saying that these were terrible remasters. I never thought I would even see a modern Rockstar project rated this low. It seems as though they were using the Definitive Edition to gauge interest in remasters. They wanted to see where their fanbase sat on this. But it's too bad they used probably the worst thing they could to measure support of remasters. Hey, they were the ones who outsourced them to Grove Street Games to begin with, and they were also the ones who evidently expected a small studio consisting of mobile developers to churn out remasters of 3 games in a span of 2 years. I always thought that maybe Rockstar could have found some way to handle this stuff themselves. I get that they're really busy with a bunch of other things, but could they have not dedicated a studio of theirs to remasters and remakes while everybody else does GTA 6 and all the other stuff they're doing? This is honestly what I thought the Dundee studio was for. And this is what the leaker thought last year too. They were pretty much spot on with everything else, but they were wrong about this. My own theory is that while Grove Street Games handled the Trilogy Remasters, likely due to their prior familiarity with porting these games to mobile devices and consoles, maybe Dundee would have been responsible for remasters of newer classics, ones that were built on Rage. If they were being taught how to work with Rage, and they were being prepared for the eventual remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption, now that that's not happening, then what are they going to be working on? I don't know. I'm probably getting too ahead of myself here anyway. Who knows what each individual studio at Rockstar is working on anymore? GTA Online updates, GTA 6. By the way, production wasn't actually halted on any remasters. According to another tweet by Tez, these remasters weren't actually in development. Work hadn't begun yet on either, and it looks like they were waiting to see what the response was to the Trilogy Remasters before making a decision on GTA 4 and Red Dead. By the way, according to Kotaku, a source with knowledge of Rockstar's future projects said first that they're hoping that people forget about those Trilogy Remasters. They also said said currently that Rockstar's pretty much all hands on deck with GTA 6. They want to get that game finished. But remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption aren't out of the picture yet, although neither of these would happen until after GTA 6 is actually out. And there are some out there who might be looking at this from a different point of view. They might be thinking, well, if the trilogy turned out bad, who's to say we won't get bad remasters of the other games? What if they do remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead and they end up looking like a knockoff of Toy Story? So, in essence, to some, this might not even matter. In fact, I even saw this really good thread on Twitter by Ash735, which, if his info is legit, kind of explains a lot about how these ports and remasters turned out so badly. Because evidently a few key figures at Rockstar saw remastering older games as beneath them as a company. So when Take-Two made them do it, they went and did it in the cheapest way possible while outsourcing them to a small studio that had a hard time working on them, yada yada yada, and we ended up with the Trilogy Definitive Edition. GTA 4 at least works on Xbox through backwards compatibility, and it runs at 60 frames per second. The only problems are that it's stuck at 720p resolution, and the final mission is broken. And on PC, as bad of a port as it was, there are plenty of mods that can greatly enhance the visuals, essentially being a remaster in its own way. And if your PC is good enough, then the game itself should run just fine. The only people who are SOL are PlayStation owners. You won't get to play GTA 4 unless you own a PS3. Same with Red Dead Redemption, but those of us who are on PC also got screwed out of that since that game never even had a PC port. An emulation of it for now is only just getting better thanks to recent advancements made in RPCS 3. But at least it's backwards compatible on Series X, and it can be displayed at 4K resolution. Although you are locked at 30 FPS, it seems like you win some and you lose some with Rockstar's backwards compatible titles. While there are ways to play both of those games today, good remasters would be a huge benefit to a lot of people. Both longtime fans and people who never played these games before whose introductions to each series were through GTA 5 and Red Dead 2. Now, I said good remasters, not rushed crap that sold for $60. Plus, if they knocked it out of the park, I feel like Rockstar would actually win a lot of goodwill back from their fan base if they actually do good remasters. But what do you think? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know. Thank you for watching.